On behalf of all of us here, Calgary Flames, my name is Beasley, saying so long, enjoy your evening and the rest of your weekend. Right now, Brendan Parker and Ryan Dittrick are standing by with tonight's Flames TV live post-game show, presented by Original 16.
Original 16 gives you the chance to win one of 3 Calgary Flames fan experiences. Details in the new limited edition 15 packs of Canadian Pale Ale. Original 16, official beer sponsor of the Calgary Flames. Must be of legal drinking age, no purchase necessary.
All right, welcome inside Flames Post-Game Live. It's brought to you by Original 16, celebrating things done well. Brendan Parker alongside Ryan Dittrick, and it is celebrating a Calgary Flames victory here tonight as they pick up the 3-2 win over the visiting Winnipeg Jets and finally put an end to the skid. It stops at 7 games and a huge one. You can see a little bit of relief, but maybe just your overall thoughts on a game well played here tonight from both teams, but Calgary Flames get the win.
Yeah, you said relief, which I think is an important word here, because mentally a win like that can do so much more for you than the 2 points in the standings. So, yeah, a little bit of a sigh of relief from everybody down here right now. You could see it on the ice, maybe a little bit more jubilation than you'd expect to see out of a game in mid-November, but it's there. And, you know, things can start to feel heavy. 7-game slide, that's not what anybody's looking for, obviously, but you know, it's those silver linings that we talked about. I mean, it doesn't matter if you're playing the game you want to. You have to start getting the result, and we saw that tonight, which I think is a bit of a testament to how the past few games have gone, because I don't think we saw anything too drastically different in their game. Just a couple of different elements stood out. They started finishing a little bit more. They got the saves. 2 of the key, ingredients that head coach Daryl Sutter pointed out this morning, those needed to improve. Those were exactly where they needed them to be tonight.
And timing. I think we talked, it was after Boston, and head coach Daryl Sutter pointed out, you just need sometimes some of those to find their way into the back of the net. But,
Sure.
the big play at the big time, and Trevor Lewis, Michael Backlund on that penalty kill, they made kind of the big play of the night.
Sure, and a point in the game where the game really could have turned in, the opposite favor, because so much of the talk over the past few, let's go back to late October when they last found the win column, starts, right? They've been able to establish their game early in games, but they haven't been able to sort of continue that through the full 60, and they've had a few instances where they've, given up some leads, more so in the latter half of games, but this was a very evenly played hockey game for the most part. I thought, that late in the second period, things can definitely get out of hand if you give up a goal in that situation. They didn't. Made a great play shorthanded, and, the building erupts. Everything just starts to, I don't know, it felt like there was a little bit of air relieved from the group even before this game even got to the third period.
Yeah, well said. And, I think we'll set the scene here. I think we will have a player on the desk here live with us at some point, and obviously hear from head coach Daryl Sutter and a couple members of the Calgary Flames from inside the locker room as well. But, maybe let's just a thought on that third period, because I think it's a position they've been in a couple times this season, and this was, sort of automatic for the group 1 year ago, and they've had some challenges with that this year. But what did you like about what you saw in that third period?
Yeah, everything. That was Calgary Flames hockey. I mean, we've been talking all season about what that looks like when this team is at its best. What we saw was that team at its best. They outshot the Jets 11-4. They didn't make life easy on them. And again, we talk about turning points in the game. Well, the Jets didn't have a ton of time to work with on that 5-on-3 and the remaining power play that carried over into the third. But to start the period and get that kill, get back on even terms, and really start to establish your game again, they didn't make life easy on that team at all throughout the entire period. They were standing up the blue line, keeping tight gaps, making the Jets come the full 200 feet every time they wanted to create any bit of offense, which they just weren't able to do. So, to me, that's characteristic of what we've seen over the past few years from this team. Hopefully it's a step in the right direction, because that's the sort of game that they've been talking about where they need to get to. Right. Tonight was definitely a step forward.
Well, as we wait for our first guest, let's roll through the highlights. If we are joined in progress, then we will bail out and welcome him to the desk. But let's take a look at what we saw here tonight in 60 minutes between the Flames and Jets. And I thought we saw some of that rivalry that developed over the playoffs a little bit at the end of the second period. There was a little bit of a couple of exchanges throughout the course of the night. But starts. That's been one thing that this team has been doing well here over the last number of games. In fact, 5th consecutive game that the Calgary Flames have scored first, and it comes here in the first period courtesy Elias Lindgren.
Going to the right places. You said it starts. I mean, I think now in the first 10 minutes of game over the past 4, they've now outshot the opponent 31-6. So talk about starting on time, and we're seeing a little bit of a revamped top line make things happen. Adam Rozichka talked a little bit this morning about what he needs to do to help his line mates. That's what you see right there, soft hands to set him up in front.
Winnipeg did have an answer, though, and it still happened in that first period, and this one is Neil Pionk. An unfortunate break here is he goes off the pads or the body of Connor Mackey and then deflects past Jacob Markstrom.
Yeah, you said it. Connor Mackey just having a tough go right now, and he does everything right in this situation. He doesn't want to screen his goaltender, so he kind of backs away from the lane, and that Pionk shot may or may not have been going wide, but it takes the absolute perfect direction to head into the net there.
But the Flames stick with it, and before the end of that period, this is kind of the theme of both periods. They get one later on, but look at the pass from Elias Lindholm and Adam Rozichka with a nice one touch into the back of the net, his first of the season.
Yeah, and it kind of starts with Brendan Dillon a little bit in no man's land there, but kind of creates the 2-on-1. What I love here from Adam Rozichka, again, we mentioned his soft hands there off the top. Just doesn't put that back into the pads. He sort of casually shoves it into the short side of the net there. That's good awareness, great offensive instincts.
4-on-4 is where we find the next goal, and it's the game-tying goal. Once again, Pierre-Luc Dubois kind of finds a little bit of open space, and Josh Morrissey, who helped set up the first one, creates this one as well.
Yeah, we were sort of joking that Josh Morrissey probably deserved a couple of assists on this. He actually makes the play in the neutral zone to set up the entry as well before kind of finding that soft spot from Neil Pionk. Not much Jacob Markstrom could do on that.
This is, now we talked about the Rozichka one at the end of the first. The moment here, and the finish from Trevor Lewis. You can see the exuberation on his face, and awesome finish here on a shorthanded situation.
Yeah, that's exactly what we're talking about, right? The jubilation there. That goal just means so much. Also a former Jet, so nice to get one against the old mates there, but a couple of guys that have really been rolling and were leaned on heavily in that third period, so for them to get their fingerprints on it offensively before this game got to the closeout stretch time, I think it just speaks to some of the depth and the roles that those two players there that we saw have had on this team all season.
No question, and obviously some good storylines developing out of there. And maybe we'll pick it up the conversation just on that top line.
Sure.
We'll call it top line. I mean, I think you could look at a couple different groups when it comes to that. But the trio that was created on the road trip, Adam Rozichka comes in for Jonathan Huberdeau, who misses another game here tonight, and kind of picks up where he started to develop a little bit of momentum on the road, particularly in Boston. But what did you see from this trio, and maybe what could be developing here between Toffoli, Lindholm, and Rozichka?
Well, there was a lot working well for this trio tonight, but I think what really intrigued me is one of the areas of offense that the Flames have been struggling with so far this year, trading off the rush and in the transition game. And I think we started to see that. Whether or not it's indicative of what this trio is going to do, I guess remains to be seen. But you look at this highlight pack here, so many of these chances are coming off the rush. They're creating chances in transition. They're making quick stretch passes to try and, again, stretch out the Winnipeg defense. And it worked on several occasions. And this is another example here. This is an area of the game that Adam Rozichka talked about this morning. Winning these puck battles and being a bit heavier on the cycle, because that's an area that's been lacking as well. Start leaning on your opponent. And I think we're starting to see more of that from the top players right now. Again, this pack features a ton of Tyler Toffoli. He was great in the trenches tonight.
Well, no question. And, they saw some off the rush, some, as you noted, just kind of forced. Look at this is the D-zone
Quick
play
ups,
from
right?
Rozichka. Yeah, and it forced it, and that's what leads to this 3-on-1. And, that's a no-doubt goal that just happens to find some iron, and you kind of wondered at that point if this is another case of here we go again. But to their credit, they didn't give the Jets an opportunity really to change the storyline on this one. And you mentioned the rush chances, but also just kind of creating from your own defensive zone, and that has to be a hallmark for this team. But we kind of saw it, throughout their lineup, particularly their forward groups here tonight.
Absolutely, and I again turn to a guy like Rozichka because this is a fantastic opportunity for him to slide in that top line. You talked to him this morning too. Yeah, I did, and he was. I think you feel good for a player like this because so far in his NHL career, he spent a lot of time in the bottom six roles. But I think he's an offensive guy. That's what he's been throughout his career, and I think being given a chance to maybe build some momentum over the course of consecutive games and start to play in a role that he's maybe a little bit more accustomed to, is able to show his skill set more to what we're used to seeing. And I think he's showing it well right now. We're seeing it in terms of his foot speed, or creating the defensive zone plays that you noted there, or the soft hands in tight and in and around the net. I mean, this is an offensive player, and we're not sitting here saying that he's going to be playing on the top line all season, but it's a luxury to have a guy like that who can fill in those roles and give you meaningful minutes. And, he was talking this morning about making his line mates better. Well, he was doing that. And Elias Lindholm's another one of those guys that needs to get going, and you know what? Maybe it gives you a little bit of a kickstart when you have a guy like Rozichka, some young blood come in and push you a little bit too.
You know, it's interesting because, well, they finished tonight 4 points, 9 shots, and obviously it's still just 3 games into that trio. But we'll park that conversation for a moment. Welcome in the number 1 star here tonight, Jacob Markstrom. Grab a chair. How you doing? Congrats on the win,
Yeah,
and
thank you.
welcome inside. Maybe just a thought on the way that this game finishes out. Obviously, great to get the victory, but how you guys got it done.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it was great. Obviously, you know, everybody battled, and you know, it's tough to win in this league. And I thought tonight everybody was on their A game, and especially, you know, we've been in a situation where we've been up 1 goal going into the third and lost the lead. But you know, today I thought everybody was dialed in, and you know, we earned the win today, and you know, this is how we got to play.
Yeah.
I think everybody's going to look at that highlight reel windmill save he made there in the game. But how are you feeling? Because it looked like you were, you know, in the zone. You've been building something for a while. How would you evaluate your night?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's obviously, you know, all credit to Barbs and you know, Vladdy. We've been pushing each other, and you know, it's easy to try to change things when it's not going your way. And you know, I feel like, you know, my game has been close, but then, you know, 1 goal gets in, and 2 goal gets in, and 3 goal gets in, and that's kind of been the story. So you know, today I thought everybody played great, and you know, just to stick with it and trust yourself and trust your reads.
Well, quickly the thought on that save in particular. I mean, is that just kind of the read and the react? Obviously, he's got kind of the one-timer on the offside there.
Yeah, I mean, you know, usually when that happens, you know, you're a little late, but you know, I maybe thought a lot of traffic in front, and I thought that the guy on my right was going to shoot it, but he passed it over, and you know, then it's just desperation, and you know, try to keep the puck out of the net. Just
quickly, I was going to ask you about the road trip. I mean, we talked a lot about a lot of the positive signs, and I know you guys don't want to hear a lot about that when you're not getting the results. But is that what we saw tonight? Is it fair to say that started on the road trip?
Yeah, I mean, it was. I thought we deserved to win on this road trip for sure, but
yeah,
you know, we didn't, and you know, that's at the end of the day, that's what matters. But yeah, I mean, I thought we were finding our games, but couldn't sustain it for 60 minutes, and you know, I wasn't playing good enough for us to win as well.
You were talking about, I mean, no moral victories obviously in that dressing room, but you know, 7-game losing streak, things can get a bit heavy. So what was the mood like coming into this one?
I mean, everybody was a little bit pissed off. I think it's been going on for a while. It's frustrating when you're, you know, like you said, there's no moral victories. There's nobody that come in and, you know, we were right there, or you know, you either win or you lose. And, you know, we've been losing, you know, way too much lately. And we gotta look forward and, you know, and not dwell on it. You gotta learn from your mistakes and move on.
Jacob, one last one before I let you go. On Hockey Fights Cancer Night, I'd be remiss if I didn't ask you about a moment to celebrate James Borelli here tonight. And I know he's been a big inspiration behind closed doors, and we don't get a chance to talk about him as much. But to see that moment tonight, I know you're focused, but you know, kind of a cool moment here.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, he's one of the strongest person I met, and you know, he's been great for us. For him to, you know, come back, he really wanted to be back at work, and you know, he doesn't want to take any credit or any, you know, praise. He just, you know, puts his head down and work, and you know, he wants to work on guys and get guys healthy and treat guys. But you know, him and his family has been through a huge journey, and yeah, I mean, it's fantastic to see him, and you know, I'm proud to call him my friend.
Yeah, well said. Appreciate the time, man. Congrats on the
Thanks,
win.
Jacob. Congrats.
Thank you. Thanks.
Jacob Markstrom here joining us on the Flames postgame live, and really cool moment. Always happy to see good guys celebrated like James Borelli, and that was a great moment there in the first period.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we'll hear from some players here in the locker room. I'm getting guys now, but you know, I think gotta like what you hear from Jacob there.
Yeah, I should have added one more in there. I wanted to know if the windmill save came from the Jason LaBarbera School of Goaltending.
Oh,
but,
yeah, there you go.
Not too bad. I mean, hey, look, it was actually kind of funny because you and I were talking about this earlier in the night, how, you know, he's probably not done a ton of interviews, not a lot of media, hasn't really been the focal point for this team over the last little bit, despite the fact that Daryl Sutter said the team save percentage needs to improve. But his game has been building for some time now. We heard it straight from him a few moments ago. He wasn't terribly thrilled about the way that, you know, the numbers were adding up early in the season, but he turned it around very quickly, and we've never met a guy that's as focused and as dedicated to his craft as Jacob Markstrom is. And you know, you and I get to watch him on a daily basis, the work that he puts in. This guy's all business, and I think it shows on a game night because this guy comes to work every single night, puts in a great effort. And you know what? It's a 3-2 league. You start to get the saves, you start to get a little bit more finish, suddenly the wins are going to start to come too.
Yeah, no question. We saw a couple of big ones in the first period, and then obviously, that windmill one was in there as part of it. Just 4 in the third, but the saves were made, 21 of them on the night for Jacob Markstrom. He gets the victory. Let's hear from head coach Daryl Sutter now.
What was the major difference, other than wins and losses, between your last game and this game?
Not much. I mean, obviously Louis' goal is a big goal there. Then to get the kill to start the third again.
And how impressed were you with your team's ability to shut it down in the third?
I thought we tried to keep pressure on them as much as we could, which is important. It's hard to, the way the league is now, it's hard to defend and protect the leads. You got to check. Very simple. See it lots, actually.
Daryl, understanding what you just said, that the game wasn't too much different than what you've seen probably on the road, how important is it for this group to get rewarded for one of these?
It's important to understand how hard it is to win. Right? It's got nothing to do with it. It was important to win this game. I mean, the reason that we hadn't won lately is because we got soft at home. There's 3 games in a row where we had a lot of soft players. Well, you got to work your way out of it.
Talk about the play of Lucic and Markstrom, that line tonight.
Yeah, we put them together in the late in the second, and actually we were going to use those 3 guys as a power play group anyways tonight. So it just happened that just left them 5-on-5.
In your eyes, what was the key to that kill, that successful 2-man penalty kill?
Well, it was just 20 seconds. Right? So, you know that you're going to try. And if you can't win the face-off, you got to try and prevent them coming in the zone. We did a good job of that.
You talk about Markstrom tonight.
I've said it before, when you're on a streak, winning or losing, you need your goalie to be a star. He was a star.
That save that he made first period was pretty impressive.
Yeah, it was a good save. I mean, and that's what you need, right? That's clear, right?
Our first look at home and seeing Rozichka in that spot on that line, what have you liked? What have you seen from him?
I like, not necessarily, obviously he scored tonight, but I like that Lindy likes who he's playing with. He's our best forward, Lindy, so you shouldn't be experimenting with him.
What did Chris Tanev mean to the penalty kill, especially being back?
Gives some stability. You know what? It's a short bench down there too. We're still searching for the magic combination. So Tanny can play with anybody. So it's about getting him back, right?
All right, all good.
Okay, you guys. Yep.
Original 16, a great way to celebrate things done well.
Flames postgame live brought to you by Original 16, celebrating things done well. Brendan Parker alongside Ryan Dittrick, and some thoughts there from head coach Daryl Sutter on a number of topics, but maybe the last one we'll pick up where he finished off, and that's on defenseman Chris Tanev. Missed the last 5 games with an upper body injury, comes back in tonight. I think he played just over 17 and a half minutes, but the impact was noticeable.
Incredible. I mean, this you could take anybody out of the Flames lineup and you might not notice a bigger impact than when Chris Tanev is not there. So for the past couple of games, gigantic hole on the blue line. Credit to the guys that did step in because they did play well, but Chris Tanev just brings a different level of, Daryl said it there, stability to your back end. And, this pack is fantastic because if you're looking up shot blocking in the hockey dictionary, you're going to find every example that he showed you tonight, putting his body on the line, doing everything to take away those shooting lanes. And, plays like this too, not only making the play defensively, but getting those quick ups and starting that transitional offense that you and I referred to off the top. So huge impact, and it's no surprise that when he comes back in the lineup, the team just looks a little bit more cohesive, and maybe the wins start piling up too.
So first one you have to get is the first one, and
you
before
go.
they start the streak going the other way, and obviously you got that done tonight, and maybe we'll finish on just kind of momentum. I mean, I think Jacob kind of talked about it. I think you put in and established a few things on that road trip that maybe help lead to what we saw here tonight. But
Sure.
how far can it take you, and where can you go?
Well, it's going to take you into Monday now because starting tomorrow, this one doesn't mean a whole lot to this group other than the points in the standings. So you got to continue the roll, hopefully start building something on home ice because we know this is such a short homestand. But, get back to establishing your game and making this building a tough one to play in because it's going to be really important to get that win in the bank because you're hitting the road again for the longest road trip of the year coming up soon. You're facing some really good teams with I know a lot of storylines that are going to be of intrigue to Flames fans and maybe hockey fans all across the league. So a couple of distractions in there as well, possibly too. So just keep doing what you're doing because, we talked about this off the top of the show. I think we liked what we saw over the course of that road trip in terms of the process. Now you got the result. Now it's key to keep it all together and roll it into Monday.
No question. Well said. And let's park this one and look ahead to Monday. As for tonight, though, it's a game-winning goal from Trevor Lewis in the second period and a textbook third from the Calgary Flames, allowing just 4 shots against. And Jacob Markstrom, a first-star performance tonight for your Calgary Flames. 3-2 the final. The losing skid is over. Time to move on to the Los Angeles Kings coming up on Monday night to finish off this quick 2-game homestand, and then it'll be on to the longest road trip of the season, which includes a stop in Florida coming up next. Thanks for watching Flames Postgame Live, brought to you by Original 16. We'll see you on Monday night.